there, guys, and welcome back to Oxygen Not Included. Someone said something about valves in one of the videos, on the comments on one of the videos. I can't remember which of you said it. Resources low, coal. We are doing that. High priority. Okay, so I did sort that out. I think there was something I was supposed to do either in this or surviving Mars, and I know that I said to myself as I closed off the episode that I was going to forget to do it. Well, there you go. Can't remember what it was, so bugger. There you go. Get some good, Wait, is there really no oxygen? Oh, there's a little bit of oxygen running around in there. Okay, that's cool. Okay. So we've got a spare spot, but our food is still up and down currently. Let's leave it as is. These are still growing for now. These are a little up and down with growing because of the old, heat problem there. Basically being that these things are letting off heat and this doesn't deal well with heat. But there are other things that do well with heat. Uproot this. Let's find out what they are. Wait. Cancel uprooting that. Go to here. Cancel that. And let's have a look. Fungal spores. Temperature. Nope, so it's not that. Balm lily. 35 plus. Pinch of pepper. 35 plus. Ooh, we've got thimble reeds. Okay. 21.9 to... Okay, so what does it need? It needs polluted water, I think? Okay. 21 to 369. Atmosphere, anything is good, really. We can do it just in polluted water? Okay. Because it says it must be submerged in one of the following gases, and then one of them is polluted. Okay, cool. Farm plot. Plant must be housed in a plant box. Yep. Reed fiber. Reed fiber? Yeah, there we go. Reed fiber, whatever. You know, it's all good. So we could do it down here, but we'd have to run the polluted water. We'd have to run the polluted water. It would have to go over this way and then jump, and then there's really nowhere but down here for it to go. So it's possible, but it would be a bit of a pain, to be honest. Might be better somewhere else. And we've got heat over here as well. We could maybe run it down. So, like, this way and then down. Wait. Okay, so yeah, there's that there. But we could maybe jump it down there and then jump it across again. Or even just dig out some of this and, like, have it run down this way. And then we could... Yeah, that sounds maybe better. Okay, let's think about that as we go. And we'll consider that as an option. Search complete. Jolly good. Okay. Power. Scooby-Doo, ready? So, you may have been... I had no response to my movie talk, like positive or negative, so I don't know what to do with that. Like, I could just carry on talking about movies, because why not? But, you know, we watched, okay, so, yeah, let's carry on talking about movies. It's something that interests me personally, because I'm really fascinated by movies. I don't have any desire to, like, review them. I feel like things don't improve unless you criticize them. You know, you don't have to be critical, but it's a good thing to look at these films and be like, they did this wrong, they did this right, you know, like, it's easier, of course, to say how things should have gone, right? But at the same time, it's worth being critical, like, because if you let people, they will do like a minimal half-assed job. I mean, look at American comedy. Like, American comedy, for the most part, is lazy, and that's not kind of like, that's not saying something about America. Okay, the game crashed. Why did the game crash? Did I do something? I don't think so. Alright, well, let's just get back to where we were. Now, everyone, it's all fine. No one panic. There we are. Resume. Hopefully it will have saved. We didn't really do very much, so... did not save. Okay, well, we're back to where we were. Okay, let's go with the millwood seed. We'll plant. We'll copy. We'll paste. And I think that's all we actually did, weirdly enough. Okay, let's try that again. So, yeah, I'm not being critical of American comedy, of Americans or their comedic abilities. I think, you know, there's a different style in countries and in cultures as well of comedy. Like, that's something that kind of always happens, and I would never say that there's superior comedy and inferior comedy, because it's all what's it called, a matter of perspective. Sorry, I've got a few things in the way there. I just had to move my head a little bit. So yeah, it's all a matter of perspective, right? So one person will find a certain piece of comedy funny, one person will find a certain piece of comedy unfunny, and there isn't often a kind of like, this is right, this is wrong, you know, like, this is good comedy, this is bad comedy. There are exceptions, I feel, but for the most part, you can't. I wouldn't say that you should be criticized for your taste in comedy, pretty much. However, there's a difference between lazy comedy and good comedy. So, you know, for example, something along the lines of Jack and Jill. Jack and Jill by Adam Sandler. Most Adam Sandler films is lazy comedy. You know, there's no kind of solid filmography behind the comedy. You know, there are instances where you can get away with just standard visual, you know, kind of, you know, not really doing the visuals and things like that, because you have solid jokes and things like this. Things like Jack and Jill is basically just like comedy anyone can do, you know, comedy that's barely even funny. It's more goofy or wacky or just weird. And weird isn't necessarily funny. Random isn't necessarily funny. You know, it's very much contextual, and it's hard to, you know, kind of define comedy and things like that. But in my opinion, like, you get things along the lines of like, for example, Jack and Jill, or, you know, Adam Sandler films. I don't really watch these comedies very often. A good example of kind of visual comedy, and it doesn't have to just be, you know, like a big pair of fake tits, you know, on a dude, you know, like that kind of thing can be funny, and it doesn't have to be, you know, like the Moe and what the hell are they called? Three Stooges. It doesn't have to be that kind of, like, you know, slapping each other. But that's a good example of, you know, kind of physical comedy, visual physical comedy, where you put a lot of work into the scenes and into what happens, and, you know, you work for the joke. There's a great example is the Simon Pegg films, the Cornetto trilogy. So Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead, and At World's End. Now, for example, At World's End is not a fantastic film in terms of story, but it still contains great visual and audio and everything like that. Comedy, I don't know the technical terms, I'm not like a film buff or anything. But, you know, even a regular person, even, you know, whoever, you can tell that it's a good comedic film because you've got great examples of very subtle, or sometimes not massively subtle, but decently subtle comedy. You know, so you have, for example, in Shaun of the Dead, the scene where you've got, is it Queen? Don't Stop Me Now? Don't Stop Me Now. And like they're kicking the zombie's ass with great timing. You know, they're in time to the beat of the song and all that. And it's a great scene. It's very funny. You know, you have all the kind of scene transitions and all the clever visuals where you've got very quick cuts and great use of editing and sound. Yeah, and that's a perfect example of like inventive, clever comedy. You know, there are a lot of examples of comedy where it's literally just like a fixed screen and someone says something vaguely amusing or even funny. But, you know, just because you say something funny, like a stand-up comedian, that doesn't make it a good comedic film. It just makes it a funny line or some funny lines in a film. You know, if you want to make a comedic film, there's a lot more that goes into it, I feel. And, you know, making a film along the lines of, I mean, Billy Madison. You know, there's some kind of funny stuff in there. It gives you the feeling that Adam Sandler can only play one character well, and that's basically his audience, pretty much. You know, people who don't watch Adam Sandler for nostalgia's sake, they watch him because they think he's legitimately funny. He basically, in Billy Madison and The Waterboy and etc., he kind of plays them, I'd say. Which sounds really snooty, doesn't it? It sounds very like, oh my god. But come on, like, Adam Sandler makes shit, basically. Like, he just makes shitty bullshit shit. And I will not apologize for that opinion, because you know, go watch Little Nicky. There's, you know, and once you've watched Little Nicky, you come to realize that that's about medium for his talents in making a film. There are a few which feel a lot less dumb, I'd say. For example, Big Daddy isn't terrible. There's a couple of jokes that kind of make me laugh. The hip hop anonymous. Damn you give him the easy ones. I kind of like that. There's actually, weirdly enough, there's a Rob Schneider film that I actually really enjoyed. I don't know if it's because I was in a rough period of my life and I would have found anything funny, but The Hot Chick. I legitimately found The Hot Chick to be funny. And I'm going to have to go back and watch that, because I'm not sure why. I think there are a couple of really good scenes, possibly. Or, as I said, I had legitimate mental problems at the time, and I would have found anything funny. I don't know. I'd have to check that out. But, yeah, you know, there's great examples of legitimate comedy films, and I feel like the way Hollywood is going, like, I'm not even gonna say America or American films or even American comedies. Like, the way Hollywood is going is it very much plays up to this lazy, people are gonna lose interest if we're not careful feeling, you know? And that's a shame, I'd say, because obviously in the past Hollywood has really made good films, you know, legitimately strong films. And it feels like there's this really, really worrying trend in Hollywood where if you want an Oscar, you do something dramatic. If you want to make money, you do a shitty comedy, slapsticky, not even slapstick. Slapstick can be very funny. Just kind of like a very lazy comedy film where it's just, you know, it's just fixed shot, no attempt at like funny filmmaking, you know, like amusing filmmaking or good filmmaking. It's just, there's your actor, here's a line, say it, do your best to make it funny. If it isn't funny, it doesn't matter. Everyone's making the exact same shit anyway, you know. And then you get films that come along and they kind of blow that out of the water, you know, by doing something interesting with the premise, doing something interesting, you know, just a little bit of innovation, and people really enjoy it. The other thing I found really interesting, and you know, this may have changed, and this is something I actually got off. I actually noticed thanks to Red Letter Media. I enjoy Red Letter Media. I think they have interesting opinions, and I think their review show of films tends to be, depending on the film, tends to be more entertaining than the actual film they're reviewing. And they reviewed a film called Annihilation, which I've been interested in because it seemed interesting. And I watched Annihilation. Sorry, I didn't watch Annihilation. I watched the review for Annihilation, and one thing they mentioned I found quite interesting, which is that we always get this narrative kind of spewed at us, which is that, you know, women don't get enough jobs in Hollywood, they don't get enough parts, they don't get paid, blah, 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 blah. And whether that's true or not, I don't know. I don't work there, I don't know anyone who works there, I don't have that kind of insider knowledge. I'm sure there are instances where this is true, I'm sure there are instances where it's not true. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, there's so many factors that go into what you get paid that I think it's ridiculous to boil it down to something to piss people off, you know. But hey, there may be a legitimate, you know, there may be a legitimate wave of misogyny going through Hollywood, which I kind of doubt, because the spotlight is currently on Hollywood very heavily in regards to women and men and those kind of things, because, you know, some people have been pulled up recently for being, well, assholes is a good way to put it, but there's probably better ways to put it. Anyway, yeah, and in Annihilation, the main cast, as far as I'm aware, is completely comprised of women. And there is no controversy, or there's no controversy rolling around about it. There's no one's blaring the horns saying, oh my god, this is... And it lends a lot of credence to the idea that's been bubbling around in my head for a while, that the reason there was such a big uproar over certain films which contained minorities and women and all these kind of things is because it was artificially produced. You know, it was designed, it was anticipated, and it was manufactured. And this is the thing, is like, if you make a shit film, if you make a film with no comedic sense, if you make a film with no filmography, you know, kind of filmmaking sense, if you just make a film and you rely on things like a name or an actor or a franchise or whatever, and you make it and you realize that it's not very good, you know, it's not going to hold people's attention, then as people who made the film, your interest lies in making reasons for why it may fail and getting as much publicity as possible. Now, I'm not saying that the Ghostbusters, for example, I'm not saying that that trailer was made intentionally bad. But if you think about it, if you make an intentionally bad trailer for a beloved franchise like the Ghostbusters, and you make it look terrible, and you're just like, this is going to be panned and hated, and then you get that reaction, you're going to have enough comments of people, because, you know, there are different, like, people are different everywhere. You're You're gonna get people who are pissed off, and you know, they're sexist, they're misogynists, they're misogynists or no, misandrists are anti-men. Misogynists are anti-women, I think. Yeah, you're gonna get people like that commenting, you know, just because you are. And then you can pull up examples and call it an epidemic. And I'm sure there were a decent number of comments, but when you consider how many views there were compared to how many comments there were, yeah, I don't know. Like, you know, if you watch, if you're like me and you watch the Ghostbusters trailer, then what you do is you go, oh, that looks kind of crap. I probably won't watch that. And I'd never commented anything. I never really cared enough about it. I was just like, well, I did wonder whether it would be shit, and it looks like it's shit. Okay, cool. That was it. But, you know, there are obviously going to be people who take offense to something like that, and they're like, oh, this is the worst ever, blah, blah, blah. And then they'll start talking about why you're replacing the Ghostbusters with women, or, you know, whatever. Yeah, it happens, you know. But this is the thing, is this other film, Annihilation, as far as I can tell, is a solid film. You know, it's looking pretty good. And that, I feel like that's why there hasn't been a fuss about it, because they don't need to create any drama, because the film can stand on its own. Even if it doesn't break the box office, even if it doesn't, like, you know, have, like, a massive critical success, it's still, by all accounts and purposes, a decent film, and people are going to talk about it. So they don't need to create that artificial drama. They don't need to cry out about sexism or racism or, you know, anything along those lines. So, you know, yeah, that's just... I just... All I do is I look at Hollywood, and I love a lot of the films that have come out of Hollywood. You know, there are some great bad films, there are some bad good films, there's always something to talk about, and there's always something to enjoy or dislike or discuss, and films are a great way to converse with someone. If you ever if you're like fairly enthusiastic about films, you can sit down with a crappy film with a few friends and talk about how crappy the film is. You know, it doesn't even have to be good crappy, it just has to be crappy, and you'll just be like, you'll have fun with your friends talking about how crappy the film is. You know, I've done that myself on occasion, on a regular occasion maybe, which is great. You know, I enjoyed it immensely. I especially enjoy talking about films with friends, and incidentally, my friend, who you know who you are, he occasionally watches my videos. He probably won't watch this, but just in case you do, mate, and you know who you are, Mr. Goose, you still owe me a tenner. And you know you still owe me a tenner, sir. So basically, the story behind the tenner, I guess, for you guys who won't know what I'm talking about, and I'm willing to tell the story because he still hasn't paid me, and it was about 10 to 15 years ago. It may have been 20 quid, actually. And yeah, we were having a conversation one day about films and things like that, and we were talking about the Star Wars films. I can't remember how we got onto it, but he was convinced that the Death Star in the original Star Wars film, just Star Wars A New Hope, was partially destroyed, and then in the third film, it was being rebuilt after being partially destroyed. And I was like, mate, that is not true. It was completely blown up, and you know it was completely blown up. Like, you see it get decimated. There is no way you can possibly claim that it was partially destroyed. And we had this kind of back and forth for ages, like, arguing about it. And I was like, look, I'm willing to put down a shit ton of money on this. Like, I know that this is how it is, basically. And he of course knew that it wasn't how it is. Oh damn, that still counts as a missile? That's kind of awesome. No industrial machinery. That's a shame, because I was kind of thinking of putting a thing in there, but if it's not gonna... You know what, we can deconstruct this, right? And then we can food and microbe musher here, and then attach it with a little bit of power. A little bit of power is all I need. And then we will deconstruct this. What's wrong with you? Is that... Oh, max gas pressure. Okay. The carbon dioxide is slowly expanding. It looks like, I think. We'll keep an eye on it. I'm gonna say let's keep an eye on it. Yeah. So yeah, that's something that you know, it's a little bit it's a little bit like, you know, okay, no, it's one of those things where you're like, dude, you were totally wrong, but you can't feel too like, give me my money, because at the end of the day, it's just a silly little bit, you know. It's the fun. You know, there's a certain amusement from being like, you are wrong, sir. I don't actually need him. You know, what we should do actually, just looking at that, is enable that building for a little bit. Yeah, I don't actually need him to pay me back the money, but it's fun to say, dude, you owe me some money for that bullshit, because you were totally wrong. Like, if you go and watch that scene where the Death Star gets destroyed, it's literally turned into rubble. Like, not even rubble, just space dust. And that, you know, it even for a second, I think, lingers on a shot of literally nothing there. So it's very hard to be like, yeah, no, bits of it survived. You know, it just got partially. It's like, there's no way it got partially blown up in that situation. So that's fun. But yeah, one other thing I will mention while we're talking about films is take a moment and consider for yourself. Yeah. Why did Bright do so badly? Because everyone seems to enjoy it and critics have panned it. Maybe it's changed now, I don't know for sure. You know what, actually, while this is while we're getting to the close of this video, let's just see. So Bright has a 27% on Rotten Tomatoes. Now you go to Rotten Tomatoes, and the critic review of Bright is 27%, and the audience score of Bright is 85% liked it. Average rating 4.2 out of 5. Critic average rating 3.8 out of 10. And there's multiple reviews gone into this. Now, just have a little think for a moment. I mean, you don't often see that happen. And honestly, you can't say for sure. But I have a feeling that the reason, you know, because there's been other like Netflix stuff that's been popular and has been good. But I have a feeling that Will Smith is the answer to this question. And it's the fact that someone so mainstream, so popular, like Will Smith, has has started to do something like a Netflix original film. That's threatening. And I have a feeling that, I don't think it's like a cabal or like a you know, I don't think it's like a conspiracy or anything. I think there's a certain amount of favors being called in this instance. A little bit of pressure, maybe. Just people who have a vested interest in the success of Hollywood have gone, maybe don't like this film because it's bad for us, you know? And I think that's, I think that's, you know, I think it's a little bit telling, personally, you know. Maybe it's, maybe it's just like a rare flash in the pan where the critics hate something where everyone loves it. I doubt it. But I definitely do feel that more and more, you know, the kind of the mainstream media is maybe not even becoming, but it's just there's too much money there. There's too much. When you hear about how much films cost and how much films make, when there's that amount of money involved, it always makes me very iffy about a subject matter. You know, I'm always very cynical about it. I'm always very hesitant about it. And this is coming from someone who loves film. I love film. I think film is great. You know, we watched The Last Action Hero. I watched The Last Action Hero with Peachy Pixelate. He does a film viewing with his Discord. And I've done a little bit of film viewing. I've had people watch Tremors, which is an amazing film. I've had people watch Screamers, which is a decent film. You know, we actually watched the sequel to Screamers, which is a terrible film, and we basically bonded over how much we hated it. But yeah, he watched the Sixth Day, which we had a lot of fun with, and he watched Last Action Hero, which is a bad film. It's poorly made, it's uninteresting, it's bland as fuck. I don't like it. And this is someone who, you know, I'm talking as someone who loves Arnold Schwarzenegger films in general. But this one is just terrible. But we still had fun, like, you know, I still had fun talking about it and complaining about how crap it was and hearing people's reactions to what I considered to be the crap of, the things I considered to be the crap of the film industry, you know, and the crap parts of, what's it called, of, brain fart. Yeah, what I consider to be the crap of the film, Last Action Hero. There we go, my brain got there. So, that's just a whole load of random thoughts about the film industry. Not sure why I went on such a big rant, but it's always fun for me. So, if you don't like it, just let me know and I'll stop, I promise. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, always helps out a lot, and of course I do really appreciate it. Sorry for that random crash at the beginning, I tried to go on a little bit longer than usual, just to kind of even out the time lost, I guess. And I'll see you in the next one.